Are you tired of sending texts that go unnoticed or getting those one-word replies? You've probably been texting all wrong. But what if I told you that texting isn't just about the words? It's about how you make her feel. It's about power, control, and leaving her thinking about you long after she's put her phone down. What if I also told you that the ancient wisdom of Stoicism can help you become a master of texting? Imagine texting with complete calm, clarity, and confidence. So much so that she can't resist replying. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal 7 texting secrets that will completely change how women respond to you. And no, this isn't about cheesy pickup lines or mind games. It's about applying timeless Stoic principles to your texting game. Ready to take control? Let's dive in. Secret 1. Be calm. Be unpredictable. The first secret is simple. Don't be predictable. In Stoicism, we focus on what we control and let go of the rest. So when texting, control your responses. Avoid texting the same thing every day. Instead of just saying, "How was your day?" Try something like, "I had a strange thought about you today, but I'll tell you later." When you don't reveal everything at once, you create mystery. And women love mystery. It pulls them in, gets them thinking, and makes them want to keep the conversation going. Secret 2. Lead with strength, not emotions. In Stoicism, emotions are seen as reactions, not actions. This applies perfectly to texting. Lead with strength, not emotion. Instead of texting her, "I miss you" every time you feel like it, use your emotional intelligence. If you're missing her, say something like, "I walked past a place we used to go, and it made me think about how much I enjoy spending time with you." By keeping your emotions under control, you become someone steady, someone who isn't ruled by impulse. That kind of stability is magnetic. Secret 3. The power of silence. Silence is one of the most underrated tools in communication, and it's incredibly powerful. When you apply the Stoic principle of choosing your words wisely, you start to understand that less is often more. Silence isn't about ignoring her or playing games. It's about creating space. When you stop texting constantly, you give her a chance to reflect, to think about you, and to feel curious about what you're up to. This creates a feeling of mystery that keeps her coming back for more. When you respond immediately to every message, you might feel like you're being attentive, but in reality, you're making yourself too available. You're answering right away because you feel the need to be in constant contact, but this can make the conversation feel more like a routine and less like something intriguing. On the other hand, when you leave a message unanswered for a while, it can trigger a subtle psychological response. She starts wondering why you haven't replied yet, and the curiosity builds. This is when the power of silence really works its magic. It allows her to feel the need to take action. It forces her to reach out and continue the conversation. The longer you wait to reply, the more she starts thinking about you. She may even feel the desire to chase you, because now she's invested in finding out what's going on. You become someone she has to figure out, rather than someone she can just predict and take for granted. It's not about playing hard to get, it's about being confident in your own life and in the conversations you choose to have. By not constantly filling the space with messages, you show that you have other things going on and that your attention is not something you hand out freely. This makes her feel like she's earned your attention when you do respond, and that's far more meaningful. Silence, in this sense, is a powerful tool to make her appreciate your presence and desire to engage with you even more. Ultimately, the goal is to create balance in your interactions. Responding too quickly can make you seem desperate for conversation, but waiting just a bit gives her time to process the interaction and makes her feel like she's part of something worth investing in. This is how you create that intriguing tension that makes her think about you long after the conversation ends. Secret 4. The art of detachment. The idea of detachment in Stoicism is one of the most empowering principles you can apply to texting. It might sound strange at first because texting is often associated with quick responses and constant communication. But once you understand the true meaning of detachment, it becomes a game changer in how you interact with others, especially women. At its core, detachment means letting go of the need for control over the outcome. When it comes to texting, This principle can be incredibly powerful because so many people fall into the trap of overthinking their messages, worrying about how quickly they should reply, or stressing over what to say next. This kind of pressure can make texting feel like a task or a game, and it can drain the energy from what should be a simple and fun way to communicate. When you practice detachment, you free yourself from this mental burden. You stop obsessing over immediate replies or trying to predict exactly how she'll respond to each message. Instead, you take a deep breath and remind yourself that whatever happens, happens. You send your message, and then you move on with your day without waiting by the phone or second-guessing your words. You've already said what you wanted to say, and now you let go of the outcome. This shift in mindset does wonders. It shows that you're not desperate for attention, and this is one of the most attractive qualities you can possess. Women are naturally drawn to men who exude confidence and independence. When you text with the belief that you don't need immediate responses, it positions you as someone with a full and rich life, someone who isn't waiting for validation from anyone. It tells her that you're focused on your own life, and your attention isn't something you give away easily. On the other hand, when you're constantly checking your phone, anxiously awaiting her reply, or overthinking every message you send, you give off the impression that you're too available. This may come across as needy or lacking in self-confidence. It makes her feel like she has all the power in the conversation, and over time, that can lead to the conversation losing its spark. You become predictable, and that predictability makes it less exciting for her to engage with you. By practicing detachment, you also avoid the trap of becoming overly attached to specific outcomes. Maybe you send a text and you don't get the reply you hope for, or maybe she takes longer to respond than you expected. Instead of spiraling into doubt or frustration, detachment teaches you to remain calm and indifferent to the timing of her responses. You don't let the length of time it takes her to reply control your emotional state. You understand that people have their own lives, their own schedules, and texting is just one small part of the day. The beauty of detachment is that it makes your attention more valuable. When you're not constantly reaching out or seeking a response, your words carry more weight. She knows that when you text, it's because you've chosen to, not because you're desperate for her to reply. This makes your messages feel more meaningful. She starts to appreciate the quality of the conversation rather than simply the quantity. Your responses are well thought out and genuine, not rushed or forced. Another aspect of detachment is that it prevents you from over-investing emotionally in the conversation. If you don't attach yourself to the outcome, you won't be emotionally drained by the ebb and flow of the texting dynamic. This doesn't mean that you don't care. It means that you care without desperation. It allows you to stay emotionally grounded no matter what happens in the conversation. Whether she replies right away or takes hours to get back to you, you maintain a sense of peace and composure. You become less reactive, and that calm confidence is incredibly attractive. Detachment also helps you avoid the trap of over-texting. Sometimes people text out of fear of being ignored or because they feel like they need to keep the conversation alive. But this can easily overwhelm the other person and cause the conversation to lose its flow. By detaching yourself from the outcome, you let the conversation unfold naturally. If there's something interesting to say, you say it. If there's nothing more to add, you let it rest. You trust that if she's interested, she'll respond when she's ready. If not, that's perfectly fine because you're not seeking validation from the conversation. You're comfortable with the possibility of silence, and that comfort allows the conversation to stay balanced. Over time, the more you practice detachment, the more your texting habits will change. You'll become someone who is calm, self-assured, and focused on the present moment. Your conversations will feel lighter, more genuine, and more engaging because you're no longer attached to a specific outcome. You're no longer trying to force anything to happen. You're simply engaging in a meaningful exchange with someone who you enjoy talking to, but who doesn't dictate your emotional state. Ultimately, practicing detachment isn't about being cold or aloof. It's about creating a sense of balance and power in your interactions. You become the kind of person whose attention is valuable, whose time is precious, and whose presence is felt only when it's truly worth it. That's the true power of detachment. By letting go of the need to control every detail, you free yourself to be the best version of yourself, and women will be drawn to that natural confidence. Secret 5. Give her space to come to you. The idea of giving her space to come to you is a powerful concept that might seem counterintuitive at first. After all, we live in a world where instant communication is the norm, and waiting for a reply can feel like an eternity. But in reality, giving space is one of the most effective ways to create a dynamic where you're not constantly chasing after her attention, and instead, you allow her to feel the desire to come to you. This approach doesn't just rely on playing games or creating false tension. It's grounded in Stoic philosophy, which teaches us the importance of remaining calm, patient, and objective in every situation. The key principle here is to detach yourself from the outcome. It's natural to feel a sense of urgency when you send a text, especially if you're invested in the conversation. You might find yourself anxiously waiting for a reply, and when she doesn't respond as quickly as you expected, your first instinct might be to double text, sending multiple follow-up messages in a desperate attempt to get a response. This is an instinct we've all felt, but here's where the Stoic approach comes in. When she takes her time to respond, do not panic. Do not give in to the impulse to bombard her with more messages or try to force the conversation forward. In Stoicism, we learn that emotions should not control our actions. The Stoic mindset encourages us to take a step back, assess the situation, and choose a response that comes from a place of calm and self-control rather than from a place of need or insecurity. So when she doesn't reply right away, remain patient and give her space. Don't let the absence of an immediate reply shake your confidence or make you feel unimportant. Instead, take a moment to reflect on the fact that you are in control of your own emotional state and you have no reason to panic. The truth is, when you give her space, you create a more natural and balanced power dynamic. Instead of constantly texting and chasing her attention, you allow her the time and mental space to think about you. This space gives her the opportunity to miss you and, more importantly, to come to you when she's ready. When you let her take the lead in initiating or continuing the conversation, you're shifting the power dynamics. Now she's the one who feels the urge to engage with you rather than you desperately trying to pull her into the conversation. This subtle shift in the dynamic can have a profound effect on how she perceives you and your interactions. You see, when you constantly text or double text, you risk overwhelming her, and in the process, you might come off as needy or insecure. Women are naturally drawn to men who are emotionally grounded and not desperate for attention. When you stop acting out of need and start giving her space, you communicate to her that your life is full and rich, and you don't need her to validate your worth. This sense of emotional independence is incredibly attractive because it shows that you're confident enough to allow her the time she needs without getting anxious or obsessive. It's a sign that you're not chasing her, but rather you're allowing things to unfold naturally. When you give her space, it also allows you both to experience the full range of emotions and build a sense of anticipation. Think about the last time you were waiting for a message from someone. Whether it was a friend, a family member, or a romantic partner, you likely spent time thinking about what they might say or wondering why they hadn't replied yet. This feeling of anticipation is powerful, and it's something you can tap into when you allow her the time to come to you. By not responding right away or by letting her initiate a reply, you give her the space to reflect on the conversation and generate curiosity about you. That curiosity becomes a driving force, making her want to reach out and keep the conversation going. Another benefit of giving her space is that it prevents you from over-texting and creating a situation where the conversation feels like a chore. If you're always texting and waiting for immediate responses, you may inadvertently put pressure on the interaction. Texting should be a fun, spontaneous way to connect, not a source of stress or anxiety. By stepping back and allowing her to respond when she's ready, you make texting feel more like a natural exchange rather than a constant back and forth. The idea of giving space isn't just about waiting for a reply. It's about creating a dynamic where she feels like she's the one chasing your attention, not the other way around. This subtle shift can make a huge difference in how she perceives you. Women are drawn to men who command respect without demanding it. When you practice detachment, remain patient, and allow her the space to come to you, you're sending a powerful message that you're not desperate for her attention. Your attention is valuable. This makes your words and actions feel more meaningful when they do come through. because you're no longer flooding her with messages or creating pressure. You also have to trust that space leads to better interactions. The best conversations are often those that flow naturally, without feeling forced. If you're always texting her nonstop, you might find that the conversation feels flat or disconnected. However, when you allow a little space, both of you have time to think about what you really want to say and bring something more interesting to the table. This means that when the conversation picks up again, it's more engaging and less routine. In the end, the key is to remember that texting shouldn't be a race to get the fastest reply. Instead, focus on creating an atmosphere where the conversation feels relaxed, enjoyable, and mutually engaging. By giving her space, you not only avoid the trap of desperation, but you also build a dynamic where she starts to pursue you. This power dynamic doesn't need to be forced. It should happen naturally, with you simply choosing to stay calm, detached, and in control of your own emotional state. By practicing this, you'll find that she reaches out to you more often, and the conversations will be more exciting and genuine. Space doesn't create distance. It creates a stronger connection, one where both of you feel invested, and the conversation becomes something both of you eagerly anticipate. Secret 6. Make her work for your attention. The idea of making her work for your attention is rooted in the Stoic principle that true power comes from not chasing. In relationships, and especially when texting, there's a natural tendency to want to engage immediately and keep the conversation flowing. You might feel compelled to send long, detailed messages in order to keep the conversation alive, or even worse, to try and impress her with your words. But the Stoic way teaches us that true strength and control come from not always being available or always giving everything away instantly. Instead, make her work for your attention and let her feel the anticipation of what you might say next. Why is this so powerful? Because people, especially women, love a challenge. It's human nature. When something is too easy or predictable, it can feel less valuable. The challenge, the mystery, and the excitement of not knowing exactly what's coming next makes a person more intrigued and invested. When you stop giving away all your thoughts, all your stories, or all your plans with just a few texts, you create curiosity and anticipation. Now, instead of her being the one to constantly drive the conversation forward, you flip the script. You become the one in control of when and how much you share, and that naturally sparks interest in her. She'll wonder, what's he holding back? This doesn't mean playing games or being distant just for the sake of being mysterious. It's about creating a dynamic where the conversation feels exciting and full of possibility. When you send a message that teases something more, like, "I'll tell you something interesting, but it's a story I need to save for when I see you," you're setting up a sense of anticipation. It's like a cliffhanger in a great story. She's left wondering about what's to come, and now she's invested in finding out. You're not handing her all the answers right away. You're making her work for it. This makes the interaction feel more engaging and meaningful because she's not just getting everything handed to her on a silver platter. In a way, this taps into the psychological principle of scarcity. When something is scarce or hard to get, it naturally becomes more desirable. Think about it. When something is handed to you without any effort, you don't value it as much as something you've had to work for or earn. The same goes for your attention. When you make her work for it, whether that means not texting back right away or teasing her with bits of information instead of spilling everything, you create a sense of value around your interactions. She'll appreciate the effort she has to put in, and that effort will make her more invested in the connection. Additionally, when you employ this method, you take control of the pace of the conversation. One of the biggest mistakes people make in texting is rushing to fill the silence. They feel that if they don't reply immediately, the conversation will die or she'll lose interest. But the Stoic approach teaches us that silence and the choice to share at the right moment can be powerful. By sending shorter, more strategic messages that require follow-up or create curiosity, you allow the conversation to unfold at a more natural pace. This lets her feel like she's actively engaged in the interaction, not just waiting for you to entertain her. This approach also signals something very attractive, that your time and attention are valuable. By not rushing to respond or give everything away, you show her that you're not available all the time and that she has to make an effort to truly get to know you. This reflects the Stoic belief in self-reliance and inner strength. You don't need to chase her to prove your worth, and you don't need her validation to feel good about yourself. When you take the time to be intentional about your texts, you're showing that you're someone who is in control of his life and his interactions. This kind of confidence is magnetic. Furthermore, making her work for your attention doesn't just apply to texting, it can extend to how you show up in person. If you're always the one reaching out first or constantly trying to keep the conversation going, it can feel one-sided. But by allowing her to take the lead sometimes, or by making her work to get your attention, you establish a balance in the relationship where both people are equally invested. This dynamic can lead to more meaningful conversations and a deeper emotional connection because both of you are putting in effort. It's no longer just you doing all the work. You're both actively participating. In a world where everything moves quickly and instant gratification is the norm, the art of making her work for your attention is a breath of fresh air. It brings back a sense of intrigue and excitement that is often lost in constant, predictable communication. Instead of bombarding her with messages and explanations, you give her the opportunity to feel curiosity and anticipation, which can turn a simple conversation into something far more engaging. And when she starts putting in the effort, you can be sure that she's genuinely invested in getting to know you. Remember, the point is not to withhold attention for the sake of being mysterious, but rather to create a space where she values your words more because she doesn't get them all the time. It's about building anticipation and excitement in a way that is authentic and in line with the Stoic ideal of self-control and inner strength. When you make her work for your attention, you make your presence that much more meaningful, and that's how you stand out from the crowd. Secret 7, stay grounded, stay focused. Staying grounded and focused in your texting is the most powerful secret of all, and it's a principle that goes far beyond just messaging. It's a mindset that you can carry into all aspects of your life. In the context of texting, staying grounded means remaining true to yourself, staying emotionally steady, and not letting the conversation take over your mood or actions. It's about keeping a strong sense of your own identity and values and ensuring that your texts reflect that inner strength. When you text with a sense of grounding, you don't let the exchange dictate how you feel about yourself or where you stand in the interaction. Far too often, people get caught up in the need for constant validation. They text hoping for a quick response, checking their phone obsessively, and perhaps even feeling deflated or anxious when the reply doesn't come as expected. This type of behavior can make texting feel like a game where you're constantly trying to prove yourself or win attention. But when you stay grounded, you realize that your self-worth doesn't depend on someone else's immediate reply or attention. Instead, your texts become a reflection of your own confidence and self-respect. When you remain focused on your personal goals and values, texting becomes just another way to connect authentically, not a way to fill an emotional void or get approval. You'll stop texting out of anxiety or neediness, and instead your texts will come from a place of self-assurance and clarity. This is what makes your words powerful and meaningful. Being grounded means that you don't let the back and forth of the conversation sway you. You're able to be present in the moment and engage in the conversation without being emotionally controlled by it. If she doesn't respond right away, or if the conversation takes a pause, you don't panic or feel like you need to double text to fill the silence. You have inner peace, knowing that you don't need constant validation. You have a life outside of texting, and that balance is key. In Stoicism, we're taught that our emotions should not control our actions. This means that when you text, you don't act based on fleeting emotions like impatience, frustration, or excitement. Instead, you take a more measured, deliberate approach to your communication. You choose your words wisely, not from a place of urgency or desperation, but from a position of inner calm and clarity. When you text like this, it's not about trying to fill an emotional gap or constantly seeking affirmation from her. You're texting to share a genuine connection, and your ability to remain focused on who you are and what you believe in gives that interaction a powerful depth. When you focus on staying grounded, you also stop worrying about the future of the conversation. You're no longer anxious about where the conversation will go or what it means for your relationship. Instead, you let the conversation flow naturally, without overthinking or overanalyzing every word. You're simply engaged in the present moment and enjoying the interaction for what it is, not for what it could lead to. This removes any pressure from the conversation and allows both of you to be more at ease, because the exchange is genuine, not forced. This mindset shift also means that your text messages won't be about seeking her attention or approval. Women in particular are often turned off by men who seem overly focused on gaining their approval or who are constantly seeking attention through text. When you text with self-assurance, it becomes clear that you're not texting to get something from her, but rather to have an authentic interaction. The text becomes about sharing a moment, not about fulfilling a need or craving attention. By staying grounded, you stop texting with a hidden agenda. There's no underlying desperation to get a response or to keep her interested. Instead, you text from a place of authenticity and self-respect. Your conversations will no longer feel forced or one-sided. They'll become a natural exchange of thoughts, feelings, and ideas. And that's exactly what makes a conversation valuable. She will notice this difference and she'll respect you for it. When you text with this grounded mindset, you stop using texting as a tool to chase approval. Instead, your texts become a reflection of your inner strength and self-worth, qualities that are naturally attractive. Women are drawn to men who are emotionally stable, independent, and not desperate for validation. By texting with that sense of calm and assurance, you'll quickly realize that you don't need to chase after her attention, because your attention becomes something she seeks out, not something you're desperately trying to gain. In the end, staying grounded and focused means that texting is just another expression of who you are. You're not relying on anyone else's responses to define your mood, your sense of self-worth, or your sense of success. You are enough regardless of how fast she replies or whether she responds at all. Your emotional stability and sense of self-respect are what make your texts stand out. When you text from this place of strength, your interactions will feel more genuine, confident, and attractive. And that's when you start to create a real connection that's built on mutual respect and genuine interest, not on games or the need for constant validation. So there you have it. These are the 7 texting secrets that will make women crave your messages. And the best part, you don't have to pretend to be someone else. Just apply the Stoic mindset. Stay calm, be mysterious, and maintain your inner peace. If you want to dive deeper into Stoicism and discover how its principles can help improve other areas of your life, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on more life-changing content. Remember, in both life and texting, it's not about how quickly you react, but how thoughtfully you respond. Being mindful, staying grounded, and taking control of your emotions are what truly matter. So until next time, stay strong, stay calm, and always stay in control.